Moving. Now I decide to move things around. Hello, Damon. How are you?
I am fantastic and well today. How are you?
It's Sybil Tuesday. Is it? Is it? What is it? It is Sybil's show, and I am Sybil Wilkes today. Our good friend Damon Williams is with us, and we are awaiting a visit from a now friend to the show, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. She has been in the forefront in the fight against a lot of things that have gone wrong in the state of Texas, and not the least of which is the recent signing of the voting bill. And so we will get with her in just a few minutes as she gets settled. Damon, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about this voting bill, but in terms of politics and in your life, what's going on?
Politically, I'm still just trying to start a petition to recall our mayor's outfits. Um, I'm on a crusade to get a tailor for the mayor of Chicago. Other than that, I'm just here to observe and comment.
Will that happen before she's voted out of office?
I don't know. I think that's a lost cause. I think it's just going to be, we got to wait it out.
Wow. So how are you doing? What's going on with you besides your campaign to change her wardrobe or improve her wardrobe?
Well, I'm here. I'm home in Chicago, so I'm glad to be home. I was got a chance to see a whole bunch of family yesterday. Made my rounds, and so life is good. Been on the road working, and had a good weekend at Riddles while I was gone. And so,
How
personally, I'm doing okay.
how is Miami?
Miami was just okay, but we were better than most other people that had shows that were canceled for some reason,
Oh wow.
because people just were not into doing comedy shows. I guess that last week, prior leading up to the holiday, because our show was that Thursday, and it was a big classic that weekend, so it was a lot going on. But we had a ball. Me and my buddy from Chicago, Marcus Combs, and Spunky Robinson.
Which is still a funny name to me, but okay.
Yeah, and he's a
Um,
funny guy.
he is a funny guy with a funny name. And, I find that interesting because did you see all of the football stadiums that were packed, college football stadiums that
Wow,
were packed over the weekend?
that's probably where they were for my show as well. Um, but yeah, it was scary. I watched part of Wisconsin's game, and I was like, okay. Then I was in Texas for a little while. I mean, I watched part of Texas as well, and they were packed, mass-free swarms of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're outdoors, but still, they doing all those chants and those hoorays and those.
And a
It's
lot
we'll
of
see what it does.
spitting and like you say, with the chants and the hoorays and huzzas and you get a way to go, boy.
Well,
So
from an African American standpoint, I'm less concerned because if you ever go to a HBCU game, it's plenty of space. It's
yeah.
always, it's always,
Oh, you're wrong.
I'm bogus, but it's true. Whenever you see the classics, it's always socially distanced. We've been practicing that. But the Big Ten and those big universities, they had packed stadiums, and
Yeah.
I mean, if that's where we are with it, then obviously we'll be able to bode well for my career. But what's it gonna do for my audience if they all go away?
Right, exactly right. And the stadiums are full at the HBCU games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the stadiums are full at the HBCU games until after halftime.
I know the stadiums are only full at halftime, so
Well,
everybody's mingling around and walking around, but they all come to halftime and watch the band.
they watch the bands. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I thought maybe we could move it, so that folks were coming excited. But they're still out tailgating, probably, right?
Exactly. And thanks for trying to clean it up for me. Shout out to the to the HBCU community. But I know we have a classic here, the Chicago Football Classic, and Soldier Field is 65, 70,000 seats, and it might be 20, 25,000. So we're
Mm-hmm.
spread out. We're there, but we spread out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the spreading out, obviously. I didn't see the game, but I listened to it, Northwestern, the other night. And
Hmm.
the way they played, they should not have had an audience. It should have been all Michigan State.
Hey, but that's all right. When they all get out of school, the Northwestern graduates will be
Yeah.
working. No telling where state people will be.
So that used to be our cheer
Mm.
at the games. That's all right. That's okay because we'll be your bosses someday. Uh,
Wow.
as the other teams were beating our butts. That's what the students did anyway, and tried to support the teams. Ooh, those are dismal days. All right, Damon. Let's now move to topical, and with that, let us move to invite in our guest, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. She has been on the forefront of the fight against the Republicans in the Texas state legislature, and as you may have heard, it has been just an incredible and difficult task. And so we will talk to her about what has happened in Texas today, and we will also talk about perhaps we lost her. Okay, so we'll go on. We'll talk about that ourselves, Damon.
Yeah, we could talk about it. We saw it. I've been keeping up with that at least.
So as of 11 o'clock today, and the representative says she's there. So we'll keep going. As of 11 o'clock today, Yolanda, if you can bring her up, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed the state's restrictive voting bill into law after it was passed last week by the state legislature, and a flood of lawsuits have already been signed and have been filed. And so, Representative Crockett, if you can see us, there you are. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? It's good to hear you.
It's,
Can't
it's
quite see you too well.
No, good. You keep your eyes on the road. It's good to see and to hear you. You know, I follow you very faithfully, and I would like to introduce you to our co-host today, a comedian extraordinaire, Damon Williams.
Hey, Damon.
How you doing there, Rep?
I'm doing just fine.
How
Well,
are you, really? Because this has been the culmination of the signing of the voting bill today has been the culmination of a succession of bills that have just boggle my mind, and I think for people around the country who now understand that in the state of Texas, you can own a gun without a license. You can carry it anywhere. You can be a bounty hunter against your friend, neighbor, somebody who is seeking out reproductive services, and you cannot vote as easily as you can do these other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas is ass backwards. I mean, that's just what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Sadly enough, so it is actually easier to carry a firearm, which last time I checked, votes don't kill anybody. But it's easier to carry a firearm than it is to vote in the state of Texas. Anyone who is over 21 years of age can just walk around with a gun in public without a license, without any training whatsoever. So law enforcement can't approach you and say, hey, do you have a license to carry that firearm? Because they don't have probable cause, because everybody is entitled to just kind of walk around. So we don't know how many of those that are honestly kind of hiding in plain sight, right? Like we've got felons that aren't allowed to carry firearms. But honestly, like if they're just walking around, do you look at somebody and you know that they're a felon? You don't. But under our old law, you would at least be allowed to walk up to someone and require that they show you a license. Now you juxtapose that with voting.
Right.
You can walk around and you don't necessarily have to have an ID to actually just walk around with a firearm. But if you think that you're going to vote, which is also supposed to be a constitutional right, you're going to have to show an ID. That ID has the same address as where you're registered and all kinds of nonsense. But that was something that has always been. I don't want to say always, but prior to this bill, we had a voter ID law. I know that those on the right say, well, if you can use a license to buy liquor, you can use a license to vote. And I'm just like, so last time I checked, you're not constitutionally entitled to buy liquor. I mean, that's a privilege.
Right.
Voting is actually
In the
supposed to be
Constitution.
right, a fundamentally protected right. There's a difference. So all these things that they want to compare it to, those are not rights. Those are nothing more than privileges that you've been afforded in some way. So anyway, it's interesting that the governor decided not to sign this into law in Austin.
Yes.
Our signings are normally done in Austin. He decided to go to East Texas, very red area, an area that actually just dealt him a little bit of a blow as it relates to the mask mandates. Tyler specifically defied him in a creative way. They were the ones that said, "Oh, you know what? We'll just make it part of our uniform."
Our school uniforms.
Exactly. And this is an area that voted for Trump 70%. So I guess he's feeling a little bit of the heat and a little bit stressed. So he decided to go out there. In addition to that, what this bill did was it increased access to the voter box if you were from a small town.
Right. It's very selective in terms of that, isn't it?
It is, because it used to be that the minimum number of hours that were laid out in our code applied to counties that were 100,000 or more in population. They decided to increase the minimum number of hours and drop the population down to 55,000. I wonder why. But a place like Harris County, which is where you would normally see videos of people standing in line
for hours.
For hours. In fact, they're trying to prosecute the gentleman, Herbert Rogers.
Yes.
They're trying to prosecute him. He waited in line for 6 hours. Now, you tell me whether or not Tyler has ever had a 6-hour line.
Right.
I can guarantee you that they haven't had a 6-hour line, right? But he waited all those hours
and questioning whether he was able to do this because of a prior conviction. So, Representative, I want to know from you, now that we have these things in play, what's next? What is the game plan? What are you thinking, and your fellow representatives and state senators thinking about how to overcome these incredible roadblocks that they have presented for people?
Yeah, sadly enough, the president was like, we need to organize. That's a whole other issue, right?
Yeah.
We can't out-organize suppression. But what we can do is get those that have been apathetic up and out. And so we still need to make sure there's still tons of voter apathy in the state of Texas. We have one of the lowest voter turnouts in the country. Even when we increased our voter turnout this last time, it was still one of like the worst in the country, right? So we've definitely got to make sure that we're getting more people registered to vote, and we've got to hold on to them. We've got to make sure that we don't just register them, because we love to have a voter registration drive and then we don't get them out to vote.
Right.
So
follow up.
Exactly. We've got to do that. We've got to make sure that we're mobilizing. We've got to make sure that we're educating people, because usually what I hear, the reason for why people don't vote is they're like, well, that don't affect me.
Right.
I don't know what they doing and that kind of stuff. And now it's like, okay, now do you understand? They just took away voting rights. They just decided that they want to give everybody guns. They just wanted to say that women can't have the abortion health care access that they should have. They also, there's so much bad that came out of this session that we haven't even gotten to a number of the other bad bills. We had a number of anti-protester bills. They increased punishment for some protesters to a felony to try to chill the number of people that decide to take to the streets when there's an injustice done. They also had a defund the police bill to beat back cities that decide that they want to reimagine policing in their cities. I mean, like, the list of like issues that they propose and that they're continuing to propose. People don't understand that in this special session, they also decided that they were going to go one step further with abortion.
Yes.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the original bill only kind of deals with if someone goes through an actual medical procedure. But if you're early enough along, some doctors will prescribe, and many women will decide to use it. There's a pill that can actually abort the fetus. And so they decided, oh, wait a minute, we didn't outlaw that, right? And we don't want them ordering any pills, from other states. So we've got to add that. So they added that in the special session. I mean, it's the list of just travesties occurring in this state, it's limitless.
And for people that are watching us, like Damon's in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area, and it's a little difficult to believe that in a state like Illinois, something like this happening. But it's happening in a number of states. Texas is not alone. And as you know, in terms of the women's reproductive rights bill, one of those laws in Mississippi is going up before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is already kind of pushed back on the Texas abortion bill, and so it's not just in these states. This is something that has gained a lot of momentum and is going to continue around the country if we don't do something, and that is to, as you say, to register, to educate, and to get people to vote.
Absolutely. But we also need to put pressure on those elected officials that are in DC.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to stop playing nice and all this other kind of stuff, because these local legislatures are not playing nice. Instead, they are trampling on people's rights left and right. And so, to have the majority and still be looking crazy like, oh, what are we going to do? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're still in the majority. For them, being in the majority means that they have decided to gerrymander the lines.
Mm-hmm.
They have stolen it anyway. They've gerrymandered the lines. They've made it hard to vote. It's always been hard to vote. I mean, the majority of states say that you can register to vote online. Texas refuses to do it.
They won't.
We can't even have a hearing on it. Like, they won't even pretend like that's going to be an option. And people may say, well, it's not that hard. Well, if you're a student or if you're a working person, to say that I've got to go to my elections administrator who's only going to be open during regular working hours, and during the pandemic, what was regular working hours, right? Like, there was no regular during the pandemic. And so you're really denying access to the ballot box as well, especially when you look at how many people are moving to Texas. Mm-hmm. People are moving consistently. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, we want y'all to be here because we want to get those extra seats in Congress and things like that. Mm-hmm. We don't want y'all to have no say so.
Right.
We just need to count y'all. Right. Like, and we need to take y'all tax money too. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all Texas really wants. It's the same thing with getting a quorum. They wanted our bodies, but they didn't want anything from us. They didn't want to hear our perspective. They didn't want us to represent our districts. They just wanted our bodies there so that they could steamroll us and pass this awful legislation. And that's exactly what they did.
So, Damon, does this give you any second thoughts about moving to Texas?
Between the gerrymandering, I'm not concerned personally with abortion scenario, but those guns running around, I'm already in Chicago. I don't think I want to leave Chicago and go to the Wild Wild West.
And it really is. I wanted people to hear from you, State Representative Jasmine Crockett, because I love your passion, obviously, and as I've told you, I love the direction that you're moving in. I can't wait for bigger and better things for you. But I also want you to know that a large group of us are supporting you. And as I think we may have lost her visually, but I hope she hears us. We do support, and as a matter of fact, I wore my Black Voters Matter T-shirt. I don't know if you can see that today, because also there was a tweet today, Damon, from our friends Cliff Albright and Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter, and they're tired. And so this is incumbent upon us. These people who have pushed so hard, all of those state representatives that boycotted, went to Washington, D.C. for weeks and weeks, and folks like on the front lines, like the Black Women's Roundtable and Black Voters Matter and all of these organizations, we have to step up and help them. We have to be their back, and when they're tired, let them take a rest. But we have to step up and take their place as well. And so I'm going to step off of my my soapbox.
No, but it definitely takes a toll. Anybody that's passionate, especially about cause-driven matters, it takes a toll on you physically and emotionally. I've watched it with my son,
right?
And so he's tired. I can see it in his whole being sometimes. So they'll take a sabbatical and take a break because it's just so much. It's so overwhelming, and the powers that be are so driven and organized and in power that it's almost insurmountable. It feels like at times. So we do have to have other people to like come in and take up the mantle, even if it's just for a day or two. So if you know someone that's working in these fields of social justice or voting drives or women's rights, and you're not involved, if you could give them a break or just give them a hand or a
Yeah.
sandwich or a pat on the back or a hello,
Yeah.
it goes a long way because I've seen it firsthand.
Absolutely. All right, Damon, we're going to take a turn and ask what's really going on. And I saw this, I think it was on Earthquake's Instagram post that a post Labor Day post about the 5 tops of family members at the cookout. And I'm asking folks, do any of these ring bells with you, or do you have additions? So folks that are listening and watching us, please shout us out and let us know what's going on. And feel free to shout out the people in your lives who represent one or more of these types. The first one that they introduced was the auntie with an attitude. These are among the 5 family members at the cookout. The auntie with an attitude. Damon?
Not touching that. Keep going.
Okay. How about this is funny too, and you might not want to comment on this either. The elder who thinks that this is a church service, who thinks that the barbecue is a church service, the family cookout.
Definitely have the churchy in the household. Yep.
Shall I keep going?
Come on.
Do you have the uncle who is dressed to impress?
Now that I don't have. That we don't have that typical.
Are you that uncle, Damon?
No. I hope I'm indicative of that now.
Okay.
No. I mean, I might have been that uncle at some point, but yeah, no, we don't have that guy. But I know what you mean, the Uncle Willie with the matching short set and the long socks and the sandals, with the belt. He got 18 pieces. They all match. They all the same color, and he got a little man bag to go with it. And he usually got a younger girlfriend.
Yep, you got it. You got it. And we left out that part. Yeah, that's another family member who comes with an age not necessarily appropriate.
Inappropriate. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the uncle who's dressed to impress, and we and you've given us a good visual of that. How about the? This is another one, but perhaps we could change this around. The person who is in everyone's business. Do you have any thoughts on that one? Okay. You know, how you doing? What you doing? When you getting married? When you having your baby?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you still married to him? You know, things like that.
Oh, you ain't married yet? Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yep.
Right. And why are you sitting so close to that boy?
Young man.
Octavius. Who's your little friend?
And what do you do?
Right.
And who are your people? Yeah.
Man, I mean, I got a relative that on our family Zoom just said, "Hey, man, how much money you making?" You know, I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to just ask that in a group setting. But
Damon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was, and I don't even want to go too far. He ain't watching though, but still, he clarified why he said it. But I was still like, bro, that's an impolite question. It ain't impolite, damn it. I need to know. And he's right around here making babies. Okay, let's mute the Zoom. Let's have a reset. All right, everybody, take a breath. Kumbaya. This is the happy zone. And result. No, I'm just saying.
Ooh,
that happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, and probably still asking folks that question.
Oh, snap. Okay. Our family Zoom is Tuesday, by the way. So as soon as I come out of here, I'm going into there.
Oh, you go into there. Okay, and then after the family Zoom, you go into therapy.
I go into the glass. Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at the chalice. Not sure what's in the chalice, but I'm not judging.
Right. Don't do it.
How about the dad, or how about the family member that talks too much? Can't stop talking from the moment they walk in until the time they leave. You got that family member who just will not shut up. I'm like that during this hour, but other than that, I don't.
Yeah, it's the same person who just asked that question. But anyway, I hate to throw him under the bus. That's my my bro, but it's like, yeah, he's got something to say. But I have another friend that I don't
Uh-huh.
give a damn what the topic is. He will interject himself into the topic and make it about him. That's just like the
Oh.
time I did something, little so. Or it'd be somebody else's birthday. Your birthday is today. His
Uh,
birthday was in June. Yeah, it was my birthday too. I'm like, no, that has nothing to do with it, dude. Sometimes you could just be quiet and not be part of the topic.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. I know that folks are nodding their heads, and we'd like for you to participate and come on into the what's really going on question. This is in reference to this Labor Day post that I saw about the 5 types of family members at the cookout, and asking if you have, if you recognize any of these, or if you have additions of your own.
Well, let me throw a couple up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the family member that always gets drunk. You got that one. All right.
That's that one.
You got that one. You got nowadays you got the family member that come in smelling like a whole bunch of weed. You got that person. Grandma.
You're so silly.
There's the
Well,
person
grandmas are so much younger these days.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got the person that don't bring nothing and take everything when they go. You
Yeah.
got that person. You
Yeah.
got the person that brings people, that extra people.
Yes.
That's one of the things. I have a relative, and we had a fight. At the fight, I got 6, 8 seats. You show up with 3 cats. Man, Jim and John and John. No, dude, the snacks
No.
are not prepared for this dude. I don't have room now. We got to pull out folding chairs. They're in the way. Don't invite people to places you've been invited to. That is
Right.
rude, inappropriate, and bogus. And you know who you are if you see this.
Tom Joyner. So also, one that I came across, Damon, and that I've seen at many of the family events, the loud competitive cousins who come in to try to whip everybody at every game, from spades to dominoes to the sack races to horseshoes.
Yeah.
Hello, sister. Hello, Yolanda. So, and they come in and, all right, clear the tables. Here we go.
Right.
Who's ready to get their butts
Right.
whipped today?
Who about to take this ass whooping today?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So that is the question also is of the person who comes with someone not necessarily of the whole family's persuasion.
You got that
That's
one.
still a thing. That's still a
Oh, yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got the person that don't eat that. You know that one? Oh, that's pork. I don't eat that. If it meat and these greens, I don't eat that. Well, damn it, bring a plate.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Did you bring something that you can eat? Because
Right.
this is for the
a
rest of
cookout.
us.
Yeah, this is a throwback cookout. This is not.
It's definitely
eat
old
that.
school. Definitely
Yeah,
old school. David, that is so true. That is so true. I remember when I was a little girl, there was also the person that would bring, and if they were bringing something, it was the smallest portion of something. It was like, it wasn't even enough for one person.
Much less
I'll
enough to
bring
share.
something, and then they bring, just it looks like a leftover.
Then you got people that bring the liquor that they like, right? And then they hold on to the bottle. I'm like, hold on, dude. You can't bring your bottle and keep it
And
to
use
yourself.
it for yourself, right?
What you doing, dude? And then, or the people that bring cheap stuff and drink up all the expensive stuff.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and they're very, very healthy helpings, very healthy shots of whatever they're drinking, right? Robin Richardson is on YouTube. She said, Uncle Paul talks constantly and tells the same stories every gathering.
Bless his heart.
And
We all got that repeater uncle.
yeah, tells the
Man,
same.
did I ever tell you the time? And once you say, yeah, you told me. Well, let me tell you again. Yeah. Because you're going to like this one. I heard it before you asked me. And I said, yes. Yes, I did hear that story. Uh-oh. What did I do?
Lady T on YouTube says the family member that brings baby kids. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Unruly kids are the worst.
Yes, absolutely. And they say, and then they throw up their hands. I can't do nothing with them. Well, you know what? You should have left them at home if you can't.
Right.
Do
I got something you can do with them. Uber. There you can get the hell out of here is what they could do.
Okay. Not going to be a long trip. On Facebook, Carolyn Jones Jameson says, and then you have the one person that keeps them all straight. Carolyn, are you that person?
Well, let us hope. We need that person.
We do need that person.
And then there's the you don't get the hint, it's time to leave person. You know them?
Oh.
Yeah, the house is wound down. We clean it up.
You start to
giving
clean
them
up.
this. You give them this one. So what you about to do, homie? I don't know, man. What you about to do? No. This right here, this is the official. It's time to go.
You don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here.
Once I'm down to the wife beater, that's the truth. And it took off.
Or you start vacuuming and sweeping up and doing all that kind of stuff. And some people, those are the people, they just don't get get the hint.
You usually can run away if you say, well, this is the time when we usually have Bible study.
Oh, and Maria Smalls on Facebook says, and the people who will not clean up.
Oh, yeah. Won't clean up, won't even take the plate off the table.
Just wait to be served, wait to have their plates taken off, like you say, and then ask for stuff to come home.
Yeah, at this point, it's time to just stop having these gatherings.
Oh, maybe we're giving some people some ideas for Thanksgiving. Aubrey Williams on YouTube says, the family member who complains about the decorations, but they live like they're an episode of Hoarders.
That's something very specific. That's a new category.
That is a whole new category. I hadn't thought about that one, sir, but that's a good one. And that's an interesting one. Let's see. Joylyn Wright says the person who brings a different boyfriend or girlfriend every time. Joylyn's on Facebook. So you can't keep up with them. Yeah,
well, stand down, Joylyn. Let people live now. Sometimes some of these relationships got an expiration date. So you gotta go through some weeds to get to your flowers.
Okay, but between Memorial Day and the 4th of July, let's say that month,
exactly.
by the time you get to Labor Day, another one is there.
Indeed. Well, that might be somebody that might not be. They might be working anyway.
Right.
Got a bunch of dates. Okay.
Maria on YouTube says the family member who gets drunk and wants to give those sloppy, nasty kisses. Oh, don't you hate those? Oh my gosh. I just have flashbacks to many a childhood event. Oh no, that was me in children.
Right. Now, do we have any positive examples of people that show up? Like, that one family member that always brings gifts. Let's talk about that person.
So Damon, is that you?
No, but I'm just saying. There are those that you have that always come, prepared, and they always there. That's you, actually.
Did you have the uncle that always had my uncle was a train attendant, one of the porters on Santa Fe Railroad, and so he always brought us trinkets for the family events, my cousins and me. He would always, always have, something from the road, as Uncle Wells used to say.
That's the positive example. Let's get some of those, because there's got to be a reason why we keep doing these gatherings.
We just don't know. We don't know when to stop, Damon.
Yeah, we know all the types, but it's got to be some good types out there.
Yeah, you're right. So let's ask you who, and as we wrap this up, if there's anyone who quickly has a suggestion for that positive type, like Damon says, somebody who always brings gifts or brings extra food or brings
they contribute. Yeah.
Oh, Trisha D on YouTube says, my sister and I provide gifts to guests. So you give gifts to your guests. You don't bring them. Oh, wow. That's my Aunt Connie, too. That was her, too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my household on Christmas when the kids were young. All the cousins and the nieces and nephews, I'd have gifts for everybody. But then the thing about that, they wouldn't, if they didn't show up, those damn gifts would be under the tree till October that next year. And I'm like, we ain't doing that this year. If I don't know I'm going to see you that day,
then they gone.
Your gift comes from the clearance sale after Christmas.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Barbara Ferguson admits on Facebook on YouTube that she is the one that will stay and help clean up. Bravo, Barbara. I'm inviting you to the next party. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry end up sleeping together on Boomerang.
Oh, now you remember that. Okay. Okay. Nice recall there. Nice recall. It's now time for us to go. Before we go, Carolyn says the person who keeps the crowd laughing. She said that on Facebook, and I think she's sending that to our friend Damon. You are definitely the one that keeps the crowd laughing. I love
Thank
that.
you very much.
Absolutely. All right, now time for what you need to know, and it is our newsletter. And a reminder to folks to please subscribe to our newsletter. It's absolutely free. It comes to your email box every Monday through Friday morning, first thing, and just go to SybilWilkes.com to sign up. And it makes a great post-Labor Day gift. And if you want to give it to a gift for a family member as you're going to their house, it's a great idea. Today's newsletter, we look at Black unemployment figures. Damon, just for the month, this past month, they gave those figures, and they said that the Black unemployment numbers are going up. Black unemployment rose by over a half a percentage point last month, going from 8.2% to 8.8%, while unemployment rates for whites, Asians, and Hispanics all fell last month. And the initial sentence that I started out with is that when America gets a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. We've heard that. Now to bring it up to date, it's, when America gets the Delta variant, Black America gets the Omega variant, because it's just that extreme in terms of, I can't remember the last time that Black unemployment hasn't been twice the national average. And so looking at this with Black Americans, the only demographic group to have their joblessness go up in this last month, Black employment has fallen from a high of 16.7% last year, but it's still above the national current average of 5.2%. And the jobless rate for Black workers is still almost double the rate of white workers at 4.5%.
Yeah, but it's going to drop though, because the unemployment is about to be cut off, and that's going to make some people go back to work. I mean, to be honest, some people were preparing ahead. We like, nah, let me get this last little check.
Right.
Then I'll get back out there on my job situation. Because people are hiring everywhere. Everywhere you go, there are places. Now, they might not be adequate jobs to sustain a household, but there are jobs out there. So I think as the unemployment benefits shut down and, people end up having to go back to dark meat instead of seafood.
The organic and all of that.
Yeah, instead of all them crab legs. When they get back to them dark parts, they're going to go back to work.
Okay. When it gets down to the dark meat. But let me give you an interesting perspective. And this is the former head of the economics department at Howard University. And his name is Professor Howard Spriggs. And he says that it's not about the number of Black people that are going out there because the numbers, they don't match up with those that are getting hired. There's those that are looking for jobs. It doesn't match up. But he says, look at the people doing the hiring. They're saying that the jobs are here, but they're not necessarily hiring Black folks.
Yeah, that's another thing, the discrimination in the job place, the workplace, of course. And I was trying to make light of it, but we definitely know it's an old joke about your name on an application can eliminate you before you even get into the qualifications,
That's right. That's right.
Be careful about naming your kid Tonquavius if you want them to get a job.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
because they can discriminate specifically, ethnically, just on name alone. Yeah. And then there's the whole situation of you coming in and them seeing who you are and picking. First of all, they're going to pick their cousins or people like them. So we need more people in position of hiring. Yeah. So let's all apply for some more HR jobs. How about that?
Okay, how about that? And then we can really be in charge.
Indeed.
Another story that was contributed by our one of our youngins, Cameron Riley, talking about voting rights and women's rights under siege in Texas. Of course, as we've been talking about, the White House says it's reviewing remedies at the federal level, but ultimately the president is putting this in the hands of Congress. And as you just heard in our conversation with State Representative Jasmine Crockett, this is seemingly what the federal level is doing. They say they want to do something, but they say that their hands are tied because of the slim majority that Democrats have in the House and the Senate. And when I say slim majority in the Senate, it's virtually non-existent, the majority, because you have a couple of Democrats who are Democrats in name only and are not cooperating and not working. They're moving more in alliance with the Republicans. And so these things aren't going to happen, including the voting rights, including women's rights, and the makeup of the Supreme Court. Which is going to be making decisions. The current court is going to be making decisions on women's reproductive rights as well as voting and you name it. And that's not going to turn out well, as we know from 2013 when the current Supreme Court justice gutted the pre-clearance part of the Voting Rights Act. And so it's this is really, this makes me very sad, but we just have to keep reminding, and if you call me a broken record, that's fine. But I really feel the need for us to make a difference and to help these people who are out there in terms of our representatives and really explaining to people why it's important that we vote. And if you don't like the way people are voting, the way they're representing you, then this is an opportunity for you to get involved. Perhaps it's time for you to run for office, whether it's for the local school board, which, by the way, they're about to make an elected position, right, Damon, in Chicago?
Yeah, I think that's up in the works. And also, if anyone calls you a broken record, they are old.
Officially, okay, you're right.
But your passion comes across, and even if you're not qualified or even prepared to run for office, find somebody that's of your liking and get behind them and support them and do an effort. You'll be surprised how much one person difference can make if you engage other people that are like-minded as well. Because we saw when it was time to come together and do what we needed to do, we did. We got Trump out. And that was on that level, and that was still with a very slim margin as well.
Right.
And then how we turned a couple of Senate seats as well. But so it's important. It's definitely important. We're not just saying it to say it. And you think that people on a street level or any other levels where they feel like personally they don't affect them. These are the people. There are swarms of people that feel that way, just like the vaccine. Swarms of people who feel like, I don't trust the government. They trying to track me. I'm like, fool, you got a phone and a debit card. Everywhere you go is already tracked.
Right.
So, go get the shot and go vote. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
That is in words from the wise there. Damon, do you remember, was there a moment or was there a time when you looked at your son, who is a prominent activist, and he became engaged, or you saw that moment of his initial engagement in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very clear, concise event. It was the Mike Brown scenario. Now, he had the knowledge and the philosophy instilled in him in one of his professors down at Grinnell College. So, I mean, even as a child, his thought process was he was going to come back from school and try to change the South Side. He'd always said that he wanted to open a strip mall and provide jobs and things. This was when he was in, elementary and high school. So he wanted to do, it was going to be Williams Plaza or something like that. It was going to have, healthcare and different other services for the community. But when the Mike Brown event took place, he and his sister, they went down to Ferguson. They volunteered. Initially, they went down with the gas mask and the water. They thought that's what the activists needed. But after being on site and camping out with, some of the activists and really getting in the trenches with them, they came back and then they went back down there and they stayed and got involved. And from that on, he was full-fledged. They were both full-fledged involved. From that, the Let Us Breathe Collective was formed. There was a documentary that traced some of the things they did. They brought some of the Ferguson activists back. and they learned from them because there was a group of activists in Ferguson. These were not, college educated, scholars. These were people who knew Mike Brown and
Mm-hmm.
other friends of theirs who decided we're not leaving this site until this guy's indicted.
Right.
And so they took some of that philosophy. They brought those people here and they got them funding and help and resources. And then from that, the wheels started turning. So it was a
Wow.
very precise moment in time.
Wow, that's powerful, and I think that a lot of us can point to different points in our lives, different events in our lives in which we felt compelled, and you don't want it to be a sad moment, but if and unfortunately, the deaths of our young people, the murders of our young people, are what are impelling a lot of them to get involved. But whatever it takes, and conversations, and maybe not sounding like an old record, but sounding like a a video on repeat. How's that?
A glitching stream.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No, but to be honest, every generation has moments like that. I mean, I'm sure that the Rodney King video inspired
Yeah.
activists in the '90s.
Yep.
The Tawana Brawley and things like that back before that. There were always incidents that brought us together and probably sparked a moment. And like you say, most times it's a tragic situation that
Yeah.
makes an impact on people. So
Yeah.
hopefully we don't need more tragedies because you can avoid some of these situations if you all get involved proactively and vote the people out in power who are upholding some of the things that we're against. It's just
Yeah.
that simple.
I
Yeah.
think last summer made a big difference for a lot of folks, whether you started with Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor or with George Floyd and so on and so on and so on. But I think that is going to show a great increase, like with your son with Michael Brown. It's going to show a great increase in activity and participation, and show. And as you said, it really did show in the 2020 elections. And so.
And since we're interconnected electronically, uh, my son pointed out to me that this is the first time it was a historical summer where the movement was worldwide. There
Mm-hmm.
were
Yeah.
countries around the world participating all in the same situation for our struggle. And that's the first time globally there's been protest against the powers that be like that. So I think it was more impactful. And I think going forward, there'll be more activists sprung from those events that we won't need more tragedies because I think they're still being proactive
I
at this point.
absolutely agree. I think one interesting election, and we are starting into the election season in the state of California, is showing this. They have a recall of their governor, Gavin Newsom, who is a
Right.
Democrat, and this is an interesting election because, and we'll talk more about it. But I think that you're going to see a lot of activity, and they already have seen 4 million ballots have already been sent in this election, and so it's a two-part recall. First of all, should Gavin Newsom be recalled as governor of California? And
Hmm.
if he should be recalled, then who amongst these names would you like to see as the next governor? So
Wow.
if you go in and say no to the recall, you can go on about your way. But they are also asking people that if it's not Gavin Newsom, who would you like to see?
Then
And
who?
and and,
Yeah.
and the person that's leading right now is Black conservative Larry Elder, and it's going to be interesting to
Yeah.
see how this all plays out. I love to talk this stuff, but I really think that this is going to be a big moment for people as well in the state of California, and that's next Tuesday. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all
And what's
plays out.
what's their biggest beef with Gavin Newsom?
It's
What's
it's a conservative thing. They don't like the way that he has handled the state in terms of taxes, and they don't like some other things that he has done that are anti Donald Trump.
Yeah,
And
well, I know he was California is real proactive or has restrictive um, rules in place for
very much so,
COVID, and
very
and
much so,
they
and that
kept
was a
them
big
longer
part of
than
it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
they kept them much longer than other places, and that
And it
frustration
helped
builds
them,
up.
but that whole
Yeah.
freedom of choice thing, we don't have it over our bodies, but certainly we can tell whether people should wear a mask or not.
Mm.
Oh, the last thing I do want to talk about is this great story. Speaking of Black history, and this is the Harlem Hellfighters, a group from New York, hence the name, all Black infantry from World War One, and
Hmm.
they were not accepted by their white soldier compatriots, army compatriots, and so they were sent to work with the French and the English army. And they did a lot of bravery there, only to and lives, that they and fought for their country, only to come back and still face incredible discrimination because this is 1919 when they
Right.
returned, and just the way they were treated. So the president has awarded them the Congressional Gold Medal. So obviously, 100 years ago, this war over 100 years ago, and so family members will be receiving the gold medal in their
And God
names.
bless those guys because I'm looking back, I'm thinking, of course, I didn't live in that era. And so, like, it would be to the point where people in the military and you would sign up or get drafted, but you had the dirty jobs of, cooking and cleaning latrines and things of that nature. So I understand them wanting to rise above that. But to be honest, I don't see myself rising above working in the kitchen to going out there and dodging these bombs. So they were
Yeah,
really heroic
yeah,
people. They wanted to prove that they were worthy, and that maybe not on my part. I'll just tell you right now.
absolutely,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
God bless them. They were superheroes.
Damon, let's move to entertainment. And you we had a couple of prominent deaths this week. I wondered
Uh,
if you had any thoughts. First of all, I want you to wish a happy birthday on a lighter note. I want you to wish a happy birthday. Your
to my brother
boy,
Don,
yes,
Chicagoan Don DC Curry.
yes.
Yes, happy birthday, Big Don. He is a Chicago dude through and through, even though he resides in Atlanta, man. And he's one of the actually he was the host of Comic View when I won my special. So it's doubly great to be able to shout that brother out. He's still out here doing. He just sold out some shows in Texas. I've just got an offer to do a show with him coming up in Atlanta at the Fox Theater soon. Hopefully that gets done. And happy birthday, OG. And I get to call you OG. You're the only one, the only comics I get to call OG because these young comics been OG and me to death on the road. Because they know us from the '90s and they're in their 30s, and I show
Right.
up and it's like OG, and I don't feel OG-ish. I'm
Of
just
course.
I've been in
Of
the
course
game.
not.
So shouts out to the OG, DC
And
Curry,
your friend Big Daddy Kane's birthday.
and the homie Big Daddy K.
Yep.
Indeed, fire
Yep.
spitter.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so happy birthday to those great guys. And just some thoughts on Michael K. Williams. Do you have any?
Sad, tragic loss. I mean, I think he fought addiction issues earlier. And sometimes that demon is tough to face, and sometimes you can be functional and still be quietly, in a situation like that.
Yeah.
But I just want people out there to realize that these drugs out here are not what they were back in the day.
Right.
I'm just, we had to anyway. Um, I never stepped on anyway. But it's bogus out here now, and you don't want to risk your life with a bad batch of these drugs. We had the other comedian,
and
Fuquan
and that's what I
Johnson.
was going to ask you. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fuquan Johnson.
and I didn't know him, but I looked his stuff up, and he was really, really unique and clever. And a lot of it was drug culture humor. And to let this be a lesson to those out there, and not to defile those who have just passed away because we all have our demons. But these drugs out here are not pure, which I don't understand why anybody selling drugs would even mess with something that could potentially kill a returning customer. Let's
Yeah.
look at that. What the hell are
Yeah.
they doing with this
Yeah.
this garbage that they're putting on here for one? And I'm not to make light of it, but there's some humor in that somewhere. And I mean DMX is another example. So
Right.
let's just try to get off of these recreational drugs that are killing people and smoke a little weed and just chill out.
That's right. There you go. I don't smoke weed, but I'll drink a beer. So I'm
Yeah,
with you on
but
that.
but I would prefer you did before you took any lines of meth or
Or
uh,
fentanyl, or
fentanyl,
just
drink
yeah,
some lean, because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
and I know a lot of people are dealing with a lot of things, and even the quarantine situation had people resorting to other things for relief. But let's try to clean that up out here. Man. It's a
Right.
sad, sad loss when we
It
lose
really
giants
is.
like that, and any other person that's lost.
Absolutely. Damon, we're going to close out with Yogi's Jewel, the daily inspiration, and it's quick and simple and to the point. And I think we need this more now than ever. And that is believe in the power of love. It sounds like a Huey Lewis in the News song. Once again, going old school. But the power
Luther
of love.
Vandross. Yeah.
Thank you. But it's true. Believe in the power of love and let's just, instead of just beating up on each other,
Yeah.
physically and calling each other out and spitting and coughing on each other, let's just
And
breathe.
putting the negative stuff in people's comments and being
Yeah.
so quick
Oh
to
my
jump on
gosh.
and hurt, and bully and all that. Let's love more because no day is promised. And we've seen that day after day.
Yeah, and we are seeing it, as you say, day after day. All right, my friend, people can get in touch with you on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it.
DamonWilliamsComedy.com will get you to all of those places.
Thank you, sir.
Instagram specifically is Damon Williams Comedy.
Thanks, my
This
friend.
weekend, Jacksonville. I'll be out there with Rodney Perry and my man Talent.
Duval. Absolutely.
Duval.
Thanks, Damon. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.